will start our session today. We'll have this morning and this afternoon. We are running very late on our schedule. Therefore, I have proposed to the Bureau that we meet in the afternoon from 3 to 5 p.m. Interpretation will be only available during this time. I propose the following schedule for our session of today. We will begin our session with item 12B on governance, 10A on periodical report, item 8C, which is the update of the list and list of danger. We will then proceed with examination of item 13 concerning international assistance, item 14 of the budget, item 9A on the upstream process, as well as 12A regarding the ad hoc working group. As you know, we will have also to continue the adoption of the decision 7 on state of conservation. We will have afterwards to examine item 15 on other business and item 17, which is agenda of the 43rd session. Dear colleague, regarding item 16 on the election of the next chairperson as well as the designation of the next bureau, I would like to inform you that consultations are still ongoing and that we will inform you on the results of this negotiation as soon as possible. Dear colleague, item 13, 14, 9A and 9A and 12A are related as they contain elements that have been discussed by the ad hoc group. It is proposed that the respective decisions are examined each with the respective item. However, the adoption is to be done once all decisions have been agreed in order to ensure consistency between them. Bahrain, as chair of the ad hoc group, will provide an explanation of the proposed approach. Thank you. Finally, dear friends, for what regard item 17 concerning the provisional agenda of the 43rd session of the World Heritage Committee, please note that a document has been prepared and will be distributed to you as this morning. Dear friends, I call upon your cooperation once again to help me to facilitate the debate and the intervention to avoid any delay in our schedule of today. Okay. Dear friends, let us now examine item 12B of our agenda regarding the follow-up and implementation of recommendations of the working group on governance as endorsed by the General Conference. Document 12B contain all the relevant information on the matter. Allow me to invite Mrs. Rossler, Director of the World Heritage Center, to briefly present this item. Mrs. Rossler, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good morning to all of you. You will all remember that in 2016, the General Conference of UNESCO established an open-ended working group to review the governance, procedures, and working methods of the UNESCO's international and intergovernmental bodies. The General Conference, at its last session in 2017, endorsed the recommendations of the open-ended working group on governance as amended, and you all know that our dear rapporteur was the co-chair of this working group. These recommendations are divided into general recommendations of all international and intergovernmental bodies and specific recommendations for the UNESCO conventions. The General Conference also invited the governing bodies of the different organs examined by the working group to implement, as appropriate, the above-mentioned recommendations. As you know, the Committee and the General Assembly have already undertaken work with a view to assess and improve their working methods, notably in the framework of the intersessional ad hoc working group established in 2014 with a task to improve and streamline the working methods of the governing bodies. Therefore, document 12B presents in the annex the implementation status of the general recommendations for the General Conference Working Group for all international and intergovernmental bodies and the implementation status of the specific recommendations for the UNESCO conventions, including the status for the specific recommendations on the World Heritage Convention. You have Decision 42-COM 12B in your document in front of you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mrs. Rossler. Is there any comments? Or inquiries? No? Okay. The reporter, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I wish a good morning to our colleagues. We haven't received amendments on this draft decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Then, where is the decision? This one, yeah. I therefore declare draft decision 42-COM 12B adopted. Now item 12 is closed. It's closed. 12, it's 12 here. Yeah. So our next item is 10A. As you will remember, we could not proceed with the examination of item 10A regarding periodical reporting last week. I will therefore propose we examine it now. We will now listen to the presentation of the progress report on the preparation of the third cycle of periodical reporting, which is contained in document 10A. I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Rabwa from the World Heritage Center, which will introduce this item. You have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The document is presented further to Decision 41-COM 10A when the committee had endorsed the outcomes of the reflection period and had launched the third cycle of periodic reporting, postponing its initiation or its start into 2018. Next slide, please. The document presents the timeline and the work that has been done by the Center, timeline of the periodic reporting exercise that you see in this slide. And as you all know, the exercise of the third cycle starts in the Arab region in 2018, with submission of the reports in 2019, and a report which would have processed the results of the periodic reporting cycle presented at 2020. You can see the timeline. Arab region would be followed by Africa, by the Asia Pacific, by Latin America and the Caribbean, and finally by Europe and North America. Next slide, please. You'd remember that the report of the working group that worked on the reflection made a number of recommendations, one of the most important of which was the fact that it should become a much more state party-driven exercise. And the decision that you took at your last committee session last year in Krakow, you endorsed the views of the expert group and requested the Secretariat to ensure a holistic approach across the regions to provide overall coordination, to develop guidance tools and analysis, and to facilitate the state party-driven approach to this exercise. Next slide, please. So the Secretariat has taken this on board and has produced a number of training and guiding materials. A lot of guidance has been produced or is in the process of being produced, so that we can help you as states parties and all the stakeholders in this exercise to implement it in the best possible way and have the results that would guide the work which concerns protection and management and conservation of the World Heritage Properties in the countries, in the different regions of the world. This set of training materials will facilitate an autonomous and successful periodic reporting exercise. This is the purpose of developing this set of materials to support the capacity building, and they are adaptable for a different range of contexts and can be used with a broad audience and different types of audiences. And finally, we have tried to design them as very user-friendly. Next slide, please. One of the training materials are the guidance and glossary, which are embedded in the questionnaire itself, and they provide clarifications on a number of specific questions, provide context and background, and we are soon going to have a glossary that supplements this guidance and provides definitions to key terms so that all stakeholders can work autonomously on the questionnaire. Next slide, please. 2 animation videos have also been produced. They explain the periodic reporting process and its 2 sections. The first one being addressed to the state party level and to the, let's say, national government authorities, and section 2 is addressed to the site managers, as each site has to report on its state of conservation. So it's aimed primarily, the second video is aimed primarily at site managers, and they offer an overview of the exercise and the questions in plain language with engaging visuals. It is available for the time being in English, French, and is being adapted into Arabic, and it will be produced in all the 6 languages of the United Nations. Adapted Spanish, Chinese, and Russian versions are currently under development. Next slide, please. We have also produced a handbook for site managers that is actually available as a PDF document on the website of the World Heritage Center. We have just printed a few copies which have been distributed at the Site Managers Forum, and we had put a few copies outside. I think there has been a great interest because they disappeared within just a few minutes. That's also another very user-friendly tool with very clear explanations, both with regard to the content and the process. Next slide, please. We are also preparing curriculum, a set of training materials, and which include a periodic reporting curriculum. That's a capacity building tool that would be basically proposed, ready-made, and developed to facilitate training for all those involved in periodic reporting, be it at the site level, be it at the level of the national government, or regional level, sub-regional level. It draws on a large number of World Heritage resources which already exist, and it will be accessible in a basic and more advanced version, depending on the kind of training initiatives that you'd want to develop. And its comprehensive nature will make it adaptable to many different World Heritage contexts. Typically, we have planned to have the curriculum available in September when the exercise starts in the Arab region. Next slide, please. Of course, we have updated the World Heritage Center's webpage, and we have developed a platform for Cycle 3. The webpage has been updated for clarity and user-friendliness, and the platform will host the questionnaire, and all training materials will be available there. Both pages will be updated as other material come in. Next slide, please. You'd remember that at the last committee session, you approved an analytical framework for periodic reporting. That is the framework that should be used and will be used for processing all the information that has been received from the periodic reports in a given region. And of course, more information is available on our website. Next slide, please. What has the World Heritage Center been doing to facilitate the states parties and to help all the different regions get ready? Measures that we have undertaken include facilitation of the process through updating of all the records that we have so that we can pre-fill with the most valid information available. We have been communicating with the states parties on key dates and deadlines, on availability of training material. We have been updating our database of site managers, ensuring a help desk over the reporting year that's being prepared, and supporting the states parties in data analysis. Next slide. As you know, and as was mentioned previously, the third cycle is starting in the Arab States region, and some of the material is already being translated in Arabic, and others will follow suit. The regional desk for the Arab states is active, as well as the center as a whole is actively working, of course, with the Arab Regional Center for World Heritage, which has planned a lot of activities, or activities specifically focused to support the states parties from the Arab region in this exercise, which is to start technically as from September with access to the questionnaires. And I'm very pleased to inform you that the first meeting in this regard has already taken place 2 days ago, on the 1st of July, in the premises of the Arab Regional Center for World Heritage, and it has shown the great interest and commitment on one side of the states parties to participate in this exercise and to use this exercise as in a way, a capacity building one, because while preparing for the periodic reporting, all different components of the World Heritage landscape, in a way, if I may use this term, are to be reviewed. So that's a very, very good opportunity for strengthened capacity building. And of course, the commitment of the Arab World Center for World Heritage has been demonstrated very strongly. One further information that I wanted to share with you. I have been asked, all our colleagues from the different regions are following up on their regional action plans from the second cycle, and I have just been asked by our colleagues from the Latin America and Caribbean region to make a brief mention of the very, very recent work that has been done in the region at the end of April, where the states parties from Mexico, 7 states parties, including Mexico and Central America sub-region, have met in Zacatecas to discuss and adopt the Sub-Regional Action Plan for World Heritage in Mexico and Central America, PAMAC, which has a 5-year duration for the period from 2018-2023. This plan includes a capacity building strategy and a pilot project program, and it has defined 6 objectives that have been agreed upon by the participating states parties. The important role of Mexico as organizer of the meeting is to be highlighted, and the commitment of all states parties in the region is to be commended. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments? Guatemala and then Norway.
Gracias, señora Presidente. Guatemala agradece la presentación realizada por el Centro de Patrimonio Mundial. Al mismo tiempo, desea reiterar que recientemente se ha formulado el Plan de Acción Subregional para México, Centroamérica y el Caribe, un proceso estratégico que será de gran utilidad para orientar los siguientes pasos de implementación de la Convención. El Estado de Guatemala, entre otros, se ha comprometido a implementar activamente el plan de manera colaborativa con otros estados parte de la subregión. Agradecemos, por ende, el valioso acompañamiento del Centro de Patrimonio Mundial en este importante proceso, así como al Instituto Regional para el Patrimonio Mundial en Zacatecas, es un centro de categoría 2, por liderar los procesos en la subregión. Reiteramos nuestro agradecimiento al Gobierno de México por la apertura y la disposición para compartir su destacada experiencia con otros estados de la subregión, estando seguros que en los próximos años se registrarán avances cualitativos para la implementación de la Convención en Centroamérica y el Caribe, incluida una adecuada preparación de los informes periódicos que la región presentará en 2021. Muchas gracias, señora Presidenta.
Thank you very much. Norway, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We wish to commend the World Heritage Center for ensuring that the reflection period indeed led to changes and improvements of considerable importance to the framework of periodic reporting, both in process and actual formats. Most importantly, we wish to emphasize the integration of synergies with other conventions and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We strongly support a more uniform and holistic approach which ensures relevance for this important monitoring mechanism across regions and time. We also wish to commend the World Heritage Center for having produced comprehensive guidance and training materials, and further for designing a process for implementation which should facilitate even further periodic reporting as a process which is, and certainly should be, state-party driven. The mention of the necessity to develop new and integrated methods for analysis is most welcome and would allow for an even more state-party driven exercise. Data and results could be made instantly available to the states parties and site managers, which would increase the relevance and applicability of the significant scientific database that periodic reporting actually constitutes, on a more permanent basis as a monitoring and management tool. Norway finally wishes to commend the commitment of the Arab Regional Center for World Heritage for assisting the World Heritage Center in the facilitation of the exercise in the region in which we are now guests. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Tunisia, please. Tunisia.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. La Tunisie se félicite du démarrage de ce 3e cycle des rapports périodiques. La Tunisie félicite le Centre de patrimoine mondial d'avoir fait un excellent travail et énorme travail de préparation et d'avoir préparé le matériel de soutien et de formation. La Tunisie remercie également le Centre régional arabe pour le patrimoine mondial de Bahrain d'avoir accepté de fournir son assistance et son expertise aux États de la région pour réussir cet exercice. La Tunisie espère que cet exercice donnera l'occasion de nous fournir une image réelle et non retouchée de l'état de conservation de nos sites et de leur valorisation, et de nous permettre aussi de connaître le degré effectif d'implication des communautés locales dans la gestion et dans le processus de conservation des biens inscrits sur la liste du patrimoine mondial de la région. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Mexico, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta, y gracias al Centro del Patrimonio Mundial por este importante y destacado informe. Asimismo, gracias al delegado de Guatemala por sus generosas palabras. Como se acaba de comentar, en colaboración con la Unidad para América Latina y el Caribe del Centro del Patrimonio Mundial, se llevó a cabo en Zacatecas la reunión subregional para la adopción del Plan de Acción para el Patrimonio Mundial en México y América Central 2018-2023. Originalmente se llevaría a cabo en septiembre de 2017, sin embargo, el sismo que padecimos nos obligó a posponerla. Finalmente realizada este año, el encuentro brindó una valiosa oportunidad para identificar actividades y proyectos que permitirán mejorar los niveles de conservación y manejo de los bienes patrimonio mundial del área, a la luz de los resultados del segundo ciclo del informe periódico para América Latina y el Caribe. Así, conforme a un puntual programa regional, el objetivo principal del plan de acción será contar con una herramienta práctica para apoyar y orientar los esfuerzos y acciones en la capacitación técnica, la conservación, la gestión y el desarrollo sostenible del patrimonio mundial conforme a las prioridades consensuadas en la subregión. Fruto de este plan de acción, enriquecido por la entusiasta y propositiva participación de los Estados partes, se presentaron 16 proyectos piloto que serán implementados en los próximos años en diversos bienes del patrimonio mundial de Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panamá y México, entre ellos zonas arqueológicas, centros históricos, parques nacionales, reservas de biosfera y sitios del patrimonio moderno. A la reunión asistieron 37 expertos de los 7 países de la subregión y 3 de los organismos consultivos, además de 2 destacados expertos de Cuba y República Dominicana. Agradecemos el invaluable y siempre puntual apoyo de la Unidad para América Latina y a los Estados partes su enriquecedora presencia y colaboración en este encuentro. Finalmente, a la luz del diálogo suscitado ayer en torno a la estrategia global, queremos hacer énfasis en el hecho de que en América Latina la estrategia global es vigente. Reflejo de ello son las más recientes nominaciones presentadas por Brasil el año pasado y este año por Colombia y México, así como el impulso de nuestro país a la implementación conjunta, como también lo hace Noruega para Europa, de las convenciones culturales de la UNESCO y la Agenda 2030. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Ikram, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I make this intervention on behalf of all 3 advisory bodies, ICRAM, ICOMOS, and IUCN. First, we would like to join the congratulations that have already been made to the World Heritage Center for the excellent work that has been done in preparing the 3rd cycle of periodic reporting, and in particular, the additional attention now to sustainable development and also the capacity building materials that have been developed for this cycle. The advisory bodies feel that one of the most important benefits of the periodic reporting process is not necessarily the reports themselves, although those are very important and very useful, but also the regional networking opportunities that the periodic reporting process affords national focal points, sometimes site managers, and sometimes the Category 2 centers in the concerned regions. We would therefore like to encourage state parties to continue to strengthen this networking of national focal points, and in particular, to utilize site managers much more effectively wherever that is possible within the process. Also, where applicable, the Category 2 centers will be very useful and can be tasked not just with helping out with the strategy, with the periodic reporting process itself, but can also be utilized to develop regional capacity building strategies based on the results of the periodic reporting process. We have seen WITTRAP do this for the Asia-Pacific region in the second cycle, and you have just heard an intervention from Mexico that the Zacatecas Center has recently carried out a workshop to this effect. We have also heard that ARC-WH will be working with this region, which is the first region to go for the periodic reporting cycle for the third cycle. So we would very much like to encourage the Category 2 centers in all the regions to begin working on not just on the periodic reporting process itself, but in the aftermath, developing capacity building strategies. Of course, to conclude, I would like to say that the advisory bodies will be happy to collaborate with the states parties in carrying out these tasks. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Our reporter, do you have any amendments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, I'm sorry.
Cuba, please.
Sí, gracias, señora presidenta. Trataré de ser muy breve. En este sentido, queríamos celebrar este nuevo ciclo y sobre todo que para nuestro país y los países del Caribe será un momento importante para dar a conocer todo lo que se hace en materia de mitigación de los efectos del cambio climático en los pequeños estados insulares en desarrollo, que son países profundamente afectados con huracanes y otras catástrofes naturales. Hemos solicitado un proyecto al programa de participación de la UNESCO para el año 2019-2020, que justamente busca realizar un taller en la zona de América Latina y el Caribe fundamentalmente para hablar de dos temas fundamentales. Uno, sobre el impacto del cambio climático en el patrimonio y también sobre el impacto del turismo, que son elementos comunes que tienen estas islas del Caribe, pequeños estados insulares, para la gestión y la conservación del patrimonio. De igual modo, este evento tratará de buscar una armonía, una sincronización con la Agenda Urbana Sostenible 2030, un poco para crear sinergia entre la Convención y esta nueva Agenda Urbana que se aprobó en Quito. Esperamos contar con la colaboración de la UNESCO y la participación de todos los expertos y miembros de este comité. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. The reporter, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did not receive amendments to this draft decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then we go to the adoption of the resolution. I therefore declare draft decision 42-10A adopted. Our next item will be 12B, item 12B. We did it?
In the beginning.
Okay. Our next item will be 8C. I now invite Mr. Alessandro Balsamo from the World Heritage Center to give us the update list of World Heritage in danger, taking into account the decisions taken during the examination of the State of Conservation report, as well as the nominations of properties on the World Heritage list. The update of the list will be presented orally by Mr. Balsamo. You have the floor, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee, at its 42nd session in Manama, inscribed 19 new properties on the World Heritage List, 13 cultural, 3 mixed, and 3 natural, and approved the extension of 1 property already inscribed on the list. Among the newly inscribed properties, there are 3 cultural landscapes, and with this addition, we have now 105 properties officially recognized as such on the World Heritage List, which represents 9.6% of the list. The new overall figures of the World Heritage List are now 1,092 properties, of which 845 are cultural, 209 natural, and 38 mixed. And the breakdown by region of the new 19 properties inscribed at this session are 2 from the African regions, 3 properties from Arab states, 4 properties from Asia Pacific, 8 properties from Europe and North America, and 2 properties from Latin America and Caribbean. And out of the 19 successfully inscribed nominations, 2 of them, that is the 10%, are situated on the territory of the current committee members. Following the debates on item 8B, 4 nominations were referred and 2 referred. And at this session, in 14 cases, the committee did not follow the advisory body's recommendation, which was presented in draft decision. For the first time in the history of the World Heritage Convention, we registered 2 nominations recommended for non-inscription, which were inscribed. We also took note of 2 non-inscription that became referrals and 1 non-inscription that became deferral. Another quite recurring phenomenon is the inscription of nomination recommended for referral. And at this session, all of the referrals presented were inscribed. More in particular, 4 referrals became inscription, and 1 referral for an extension became an approval. In addition, we also took note of 1 deferral that became referral, 2 deferrals that became inscriptions, and 1 postponement that became adjournment. The committee allocated approximately 18 hours of discussion to examine these 28 nominations, which results in an average of 38 minutes for the discussion of each nomination. And as a result of the decisions relating to the status of conservation of properties inscribed on the World Heritage List and the decision on nomination of properties to the World Heritage List, at this session, the committee decided to inscribe 1 property on the list of World Heritage in Danger, Kenya, Lake Turkana National Park. And at the same time, 1 property was removed from the list of World Heritage in Danger, the Belize Barrier Reef Reserve System. And according to these decisions, there are now 54 properties that are inscribed on the list of World Heritage in Danger. Draft decision 42 8C1, 8C2, and 8C3 are on page 1, 2, and 3 of both the English and French version of document 8C Rev, which was distributed this morning. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Balsamo. And now I give the floor to Mrs. Rosler for an additional information.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. It's my duty to inform you also of some other consequences of the decisions taken and as a follow-up to your decisions. Here in Bahrain, the committee examined 157 state of conservation reports, including 54 sites inscribed on the list of World Heritage in Danger. Out of the 103 7B SOC reports, 22 were requested from previous sessions of the committee in Krakow in 2017. 15 were requested from previous nomination decisions adopted at the 40th and 41st sessions, which means the 2 previous sessions. Next year, as of today, the committee will examine at least 149 state of conservation reports, including 54 sites inscribed on the list of World Heritage in Danger. Out of the 95 7B SOC reports foreseen for next year so far, 69 were requested from previous sessions of the committee, 25 are requested from this 42nd session this year, and 3 are requested from nomination decisions adopted at several sessions, including the past 3 sessions. I also want to let you know that for the 44th session in 2020, 65 7B SOC reports are already in the pipeline, including 2 requested from nomination decisions adopted here at this session. Let me also make a brief comment emerging from your discussions and decisions. The consequences of the decisions under item 8 are not only in terms of increase in state of conservation reports, but also statements of OUV, which you need to adopt, as many are only draft statements, as well as finalization of management plans or boundaries or buffer zones. This may require a reflection on streamlining the workload of the committee, the center, and the advisory bodies. We will, however, I can assure you, not prolong the committee sessions in the future, at least we hope. It is exactly today, 40 years ago, that the committee inscribed the first 12 World Heritage Sites, very iconic places on the World Heritage List, including the Galapagos Islands in Ecuador, Lalibela in Ethiopia, or the historic center of Krakow, or the first national park on Earth, Yellowstone National Park. Today, we have 1,092 sites, a very diverse World Heritage List, and many aspirations from authorities and local communities to get more inscriptions. Inscription is a critical moment in time, but a small part of a long-term conservation process. In this regard, we would like to very much encourage all of the state parties to take the recommendations by the committee concerning the inscription serious. We often send reactive monitoring missions a couple of years afterwards and discover they were not implemented. As you all know, we strongly believe in this powerful legal instrument, which is the World Heritage Convention, and I trust you do as well. However, I would like to kindly ask all of you to help in this dramatic situation. With an increasing list and more state of conservation problems, please assist the countries in need for effective management plans, visitor use plans, policies, and legal provisions to protect World Heritage. We need you also to support the overloaded system. Here, we are in the same boat, and the Secretariat and the advisory bodies wish to effectively serve this committee and the 1972 Convention so that the sites we all cherish can survive and can be enjoyed by generations to come. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Rosler. I saw requests for speak from Norway first. Norway, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the Secretariat for substantial food for thought. What makes World Heritage unique amongst many other very important and significant conventions and mechanisms is the outstanding universal value. And we, the committee, have been elected amongst 193 states parties sitting around us to this convention to be the guardians of that OUV of the 1,092 properties now on this list. All three pillars constituting OUV must be present for its justification. This must guide our decision-making. Integrity is crucial in this regard, as unclear borders and buffer zones may create large challenges for protection and management, creating difficulties for local communities and potential for conflicts between conservation and development. Our decisions in the committee must be based on objective and scientific considerations. We are dependent on carefully prepared nominations, consistent procedures in line with the operational guidelines, and evaluation by the most recognized and qualified experts. Consequently, we as a committee should not aim to push nominations from a recommended non-inscription towards an inscription. We should aim to be constructive, work together, and contribute towards consensus decisions. But we should never compromise on outstanding universal value and the high scientific standards. We should not bend the potential of the scientifically based mechanisms of referral and deferral. These are not expressions of distrust or discouragement. We should not bend the operational guidelines. And why am I saying this? To ensure that our shared world heritage can be enjoyed and appreciated by our children and all future generations. The strength of this convention is its credibility. And where does this credibility come from? The sound, professional, and objective decisions made by the committee over the previous 41 years. We are elected to protect and uphold this precious legacy. The reason we are sitting here with this powerful mechanism for protection and conservation of the world's natural and cultural heritage is the credibility built brick by brick from the decisions by our wise predecessors of this committee. In that sense, we are standing on the shoulders of giants. But Norway is worried that we may not see far enough and comprehend the full consequences of our decisions. Of the many important decisions we have made over the last 9 days, there is one in which we need to discuss a bit further concerning the sites of memory. We have more nominations of this typology in the pipeline, and I would suggest that we follow the example with the World War I cemeteries and await the results of the reflection concerning such sites before these nominations are evaluated. Norway has proposed an amendment in this regard, but we would wish to ask the distinguished colleagues and the Secretariat for advice on where this decision should be. We would suggest the amendment to be included in the decision on General Item 8, which was prepared by Australia, but we will ask for your guidance on this matter. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. La Tunisie voudrait commencer par remercier Madame la Directrice du Centre du patrimoine mondial, non seulement pour ce rapport édifiant et qui nous renvoie à nos responsabilités d'État partie, membres du comité et plus généralement d'État partie à la Convention, mais je souhaite au nom de la Tunisie souligner la qualité du travail qui est mené dans le centre et la sensibilité croissante des missions qui lui sont dévolues. Je crois que la présentation que Mme Rossler vient de faire nous met devant la responsabilité historique et le tournant que connaît à la fois la compréhension, la mise en œuvre, mais aussi l'attachement à la Convention. À la fois la réussite du système de la Convention de 1972 porte en lui-même les fragilités et peut-être les menaces de sa mise en œuvre. L'attachement de plus en plus grand des États à inscrire des sites fait de telle sorte que la compréhension et l'application sereine de ces règles peut parfois être mise à rude épreuve. Nous l'avons vécu lors de plusieurs sessions passées, y compris celle-ci. Je comprends parfaitement l'attitude des États observateurs qui, hier, avaient exprimé leurs craintes, mais également leurs peut-être doutes quant à une évolution sereine de l'application et la compréhension de notre Convention. Je comprends d'autant moins que cela soit dit par des États membres du comité, siégeant au comité, qui, au moment de ces dossiers où ils estiment que la compréhension n'est pas parfaite, n'avaient pas pris la parole pour le dire au moment où la question se posait. Et je crois que j'ai commencé par dire que c'est une question de responsabilité et chacun de nous doit assumer sa responsabilité pleine. Je crois que notre système, si généreux et si vertueux, nous appelle à davantage de solidarité. La question a été posée hier dans le contexte de la présentation des sites menacés et en péril, mais je crois que ça va plus généralement. Madame Rossler a fait un appel à la solidarité entre les États aux capacités différenciées à accompagner ce système. Je crois qu'il faudra l'appuyer. Il nous faut travailler en direction de solidarité en lieu et place de toute compétition, et il nous faut aussi travailler à la logique d'accompagnement des États qui viennent de classer de nouveaux sites, mais surtout, elle a raison de parler des générations futures. Je crois que la question est amplement de transmission et aussi de pédagogie. Je crois que c'est une responsabilité morale qui nous incombe à tous, plus que juridique et politique. La Tunisie, qui a présidé au printemps 1972, le comité de rédaction de la Convention demeure tout aussi attaché à la cohérence de sa lecture, l'intelligence de sa mise en œuvre et sa portée historique.
Thank you very much. Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Firstly, I just want to lend Australia's strong voice of support to the intervention of the distinguished delegate of Norway, expressing concern that we must always, as a committee, have very serious regard to the obligations with which we have been entrusted as members of the committee. And I say that having sort of participated over the past many days in the discussions of the committee, which on my assessment have been on many dossiers deep and constructive discussions, and I think we have laid a foundation for a very productive working relationship amongst committee members in this session. But I do, however, note the essentiality of us always working to take full account of the technical advice that we are receiving and to be very careful when we are seeking to move away from the considered advice of the advisory bodies. And in relation to the nominations process, I'll just foreshadow that we have circulated some amendments which we will seek to discuss under item 12A. But I also want to now thank Dr. Rossler for her very important comments about the work that we've been undertaking this past week or so, and also concur with the distinguished delegate of Tunisia about the importance of us all working as a World Heritage family to ensure the good health and well-being of our World Heritage properties. We must engage always with an understanding of the seriousness of our obligations as state parties to implement the recommendations of the committee, which are formed after very serious consideration and on really strong advice from the advisory bodies. But moreover, we all must be mindful as individual states parties of our obligations under the Convention, which compel us to take the actions necessary to avoid finding ourselves in a position where the committee is reviewing the state of conservation of our World Heritage properties and in some instances taking the difficult decision to place a property on the endangered list. Now, having said that we should be working to avoid that endangered listing wherever we can, we must also recognise at the same time that the purpose of endangered listing is not just to signal a concern about the management of a property or threats to it, but to mobilise global support for states parties in need to help them assure the outstanding universal value, integrity and authenticity of their sites is able to be maintained.
Thank you very much. Hungary, you have the floor.
Dear Chairperson, thank you very much for this case again. I would like to join one point of the reflection of the distinguished delegation of the state party Norwegian, mentioning the possibilities of discussion about the memorial places, the states of memories. Let me reiterate my previous contribution only shortly. Supporting this contribution of the Norwegian delegation, we think Hungary that further elaboration is needed on how the nominated site with such specific concept could have a right place on the World Heritage List, and on how the committee should acknowledge its rightful importance by different means, among others by creating another category, a subcategory for memorial places. We believe that setting up an expert group consisting of members of advisory bodies, the Secretariat and the committee could clear up all confusions emerged during the discussions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Spain, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Yo también quiero agradecer a la directora del centro y a todo el equipo del centro por el gran esfuerzo que hacen en la valoración de los expedientes y sobre todo de ese ingente trabajo que representan los informes de estado de conservación que, como vemos, ocupan cada vez más una mayor parte del trabajo. Esto tiene implicaciones en otros documentos que vamos a analizar a continuación, pero también en, como ha dicho, la responsabilidad que implica la inscripción y el seguimiento que vamos a tener que hacer colectivamente como comité y que tienen que hacer también en conjunto o que tenemos que hacer en estrechísima colaboración y diálogo con los organismos de evaluación cuyas aportaciones agradecemos también y el propio centro. Me sumo a lo señalado por la delegación de Noruega y quiero resaltar que nuestra responsabilidad es colectiva y que todos y cada uno asumimos esas decisiones no solamente morales, sino también técnicas sobre las decisiones que adoptamos. Y tomamos muy buena nota de las peticiones de apoyo adicional para poder responder a esa gran necesidad tanto de asistencia técnica como de capacitación, que en definitiva es la que va a permitirnos también contribuir a lo que es el objetivo de la Convención. Sin embargo, luego cuando analicemos la propuesta de enmienda presentada por Australia, creo que aunque debamos felicitarnos por el buen o por el gran éxito de la Convención, cuando se inscribieron hace 40 años los primeros bienes, la situación era muy diferente y yo animo a un proceso de reflexión colectiva de los Estados miembros, de los organismos de evaluación del centro y la Secretaría para ver cómo en este nuevo contexto podemos seguir siendo fieles a los principios de la Convención y esas directrices que nos hemos dado nosotros mismos. Muchísimas gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you very much. Cuba, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Agradecemos la información que ha tenido a bien darnos la doctora Rosler. Nos parece que, llegado casi al final de este comité, hemos tomado decisiones responsables, decisiones consensuadas y felicito por el ánimo constructivo que ha guiado los trabajos a lo largo de todos nuestros debates, que hay veces incluso en posiciones distintas logramos encontrar bajo su presidencia y su conducción soluciones en las que todos, de alguna manera u otra, nos sentimos representados. Quizás no al 100%, pero no escuché a nadie desasociarse de alguna de las decisiones y cuando hubo necesidad de hacer una votación se hizo de manera responsable conforme a lo que establece el procedimiento. Creo que ayer la embajadora de Canadá hacía una reflexión importante que no solo depende de los miembros del comité, sino de todos los estados partes. Toda esta reflexión que estamos llevando ahora sobre la necesidad de honrar los principios de la Convención. Nos parece, y hemos dicho desde el principio, que es muy importante el diálogo desde el primer momento con los estados partes y no cuando llegamos solamente al comité, sino previamente, porque eso ayuda a que las personas estén más convencidas del estado en que se encuentran sus nominaciones. Y hacemos un llamado una vez más a esa necesidad en reforzar ese diálogo entre los órganos de evaluación, entre la Secretaría y entre los estados parte, más allá los miembros del comité. Por supuesto que el contexto es distinto después de 40 años. Hoy tenemos un comité mucho más representativo, con una distribución geográfica equitativa que permite que confluyan en él diferentes visiones y diferentes maneras de gestionar, comprender y hacer el patrimonio. De igual modo, quiero aprovechar esta oportunidad para agradecer el acompañamiento que hemos tenido como región de América Latina y el Caribe de esta sección que se ocupa de la región de América Latina. Quizás ha sido una región que ha tenido menos reflejos de contradicciones porque realmente, y lo digo en nombre de Cuba, hemos sentido un acompañamiento a lo largo de nuestra preparación como miembros del comité, hemos tenido un acompañamiento ya desde la gestión y la preservación de nuestro patrimonio y creo que es a lo que debe aspirarse en este tipo de órganos. Y reiteramos una vez más que nos hemos sentido muy cómodos en la manera en que de una forma constructiva hemos podido llegar a las decisiones. Estamos dispuestos a contribuir y a participar en un proceso de reflexión para honrar nuestra convención y nuestros instrumentos rectores y agradecemos en todo caso toda la preparación técnica, científica y de rigor que nos ofrece ICOMOS y el acompañamiento que hemos recibido también desde la Secretaría. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. First of all, I would like to thank the Center for the great they are doing. And I also share the concern from my colleague and delegation from Norway after hearing the statistics from the Center for the huge or the gap between the decision is being taken by this committee and the recommendation of the advisory board. It is alarming, and as a committee member, I always like to look at the picture from each angle. A lot of our colleagues, toward or aiming on the committee decision, but I feel as a committee member that we should also look at the evaluation procedure and the qualification of the advisory board. In no sense I'm undermining their qualification, but I think in any evaluation system, in any organization, there's always should be monitoring for the evaluation system. There should be indicators. There should be the qualification, where's the capacity buildings for the improvement of those quote-unquote experts. From hearing throughout the last few days, most of the issues we concern with the state parties that we discuss their files is miscommunication, and they are not understanding some of the files. To us, as a committee member, we rely not on my decision or my opinion. We have a huge team behind. On top of that, we use an international advisory boards, so-called an expert that unfortunately the current advisory board, they don't take those advice in consideration. One of the files that we looked deeply, we looked at, there is 3 different opinions from 3 different experts from 3 different regions in the world, and they gave the evaluation positive. Yet the advisory board, it was negative and without any main justification. On top of that, the state of Kuwait and the Arab groups for the past several years, we held prior to this convention, couple days in Kuwait every year where all the Arab groups, experts, meet to discuss all the files. And those experts from different countries, from different backgrounds, they give us, as a committee members, their own recommendation. So we do our homework. We feel the gap is increasing. It's time to look at the evaluation procedures and take it from the professional point of view. It needs to improve. Yes, I think it needs. Do we need help? We will be more than happy to help in any way. Financial, expertise. At the end, we don't want to harm the credibility of this committee, but we also want to give the state party their fair files evaluation, because there's, as some committee members, they feel that the evaluators got disappointed. At the same time, the state countries, when their file don't get a fair chance, they also get disappointed, and that's our moral responsibility to have their voice heard. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the outset, we'd like to commend the work of the Secretariat and the short report they just provided. We have a few concerns that we'd like to share at this stage. First, regarding the growing stigmatization of the danger list, we believe that's our collective duty to put this instrument as it was intended to be, as a way to promote cooperation among state parties and other stakeholders for the conservation of properties. This should be done in a constructive dialogue with the state parties concerned. We noticed that every time we have a proposal for danger listing, there is somehow a spirit that we're punishing the state party when it's actually the instrument was foreseen the other way around. Another concern that we'd like to share is with the high number of referred back decisions that perhaps in the willingness to help, to give a positive sign to the nominating state parties, we are putting them in a very delicate situation many times, because the referred back mechanism was foreseen for additional information, but we refer back nominations and then we request in the substance for a completely new nomination. So with actually, in willing to help, we're actually doing something detrimental to the nominating state parties many times. For those who have already been in the process of writing, of submitting a nomination, they will understand what I'm saying is, if you're trying to rescope the whole thing and provide a short time frame, perhaps the referred back nomination, referred back decision is not the best instrument. One last concern is with the coming nominations that we saw in the document IN3 regarding nominations that are going to be examined next year. We already see that some properties are related with recent conflict, associated with recent conflict. Since we already took a decision to adjourn one property in that typology, we believe that we should provide at this stage very clear guidance to the center and to the advisory bodies as to how to deal with these cases. We believe that the expert meeting will provide important guidance. So till then, our understanding is that we should not continue with the evaluation of these properties by the advisory bodies and not examine them at the committee until we have clear guidance on how to proceed with these with these nominations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Bosnia. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. La Bosnie-Herzégovine voudrait aussi dire quelques mots concernant ce sujet que nous trouvons très, très important, surtout étant donné que cette session a été notre première session et on a essayé de, si je pourrais dire, d'analyser un petit peu le travail du comité de son intérieur. Tout d'abord, on aimerait remercier le secrétariat et personnellement Madame la directrice du Centre du patrimoine mondial pour leur excellent travail, pour tous les documents que nous avons eu le plaisir de consulter pendant ces presque 10 jours ici à Manama. En général, la Bosnie-Herzégovine soutient la position qui vient d'être exprimée par la délégation de nos amis norvégiens. Nous pensons que, avant tout, il faut faire attention et il faut faire de tout ce qui est de notre mieux pour garder la crédibilité de notre convention. Nous pensons que la Convention est devenue une sorte de victime de son propre succès, de son grand succès et de son très, très grande visibilité sur la scène internationale, sur la scène mondiale. La Convention est devenue l'un des plus importants instruments du système des Nations Unies et pour cette raison, il est tout à fait logique et naturel de voir de plus en plus des États parties d'exprimer leur souhait légitime de voir leur site inscrit sur la liste du patrimoine mondial. En même temps, il y a des voix qui disent qu'il ne faut pas avoir trop de sites parce qu'en ayant trop de sites, en continuant l'inscription, on pourrait faire une petite, je ne sais pas comment le dire, contribuer à l'inflation de l'importance de la liste du patrimoine mondial. Nous pensons qu'il faut essayer de chercher un équilibre, et un équilibre, on peut le chercher seulement à travers un dialogue d'un côté entre les États parties, bien sûr les membres du comité, mais aussi en général des États parties de la Convention, le secrétariat de l'UNESCO et du Centre du patrimoine mondial, et aussi, bien sûr, avec les organisations consultatives. On a entendu des collègues qui, dans certains cas, exprimaient certaines réserves en ce qui concerne l'évaluation de certains dossiers. Nous pouvons aussi les comprendre, mais nous pensons aussi que peut-être la meilleure façon à procéder, la meilleure façon à avancer et de garder la crédibilité de la Convention, c'est d'établir un dialogue, comme je viens de dire, avec les organisations consultatives. Et pour cette raison, la Bosnie-Herzégovine, bien sûr, soutient et essaiera de participer au maximum aux travaux du groupe ad hoc sur les questions des nominations et des évaluations. Je voudrais terminer cette petite intervention en essayant de citer Madame Rossler qui nous a dit que nous sommes tous sur le même bateau. Nous pensons aussi de notre côté que nous sommes vraiment tous sur le même bateau et si jamais il y a un problème, quel que soit l'endroit du bateau, tout le monde pourrait couler et ce ne serait pas dans l'intérêt de personne. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Uganda, please. Uganda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Uganda would like to add its voice on the discussions that are going on. Many delegations have raised concerns on a number of issues concerning the preservation of the credibility of this committee. We would like, if we have to stick to objectivity and scientific standards of evaluation and not necessarily deviating from recommendations of the advisory bodies, we have to find a way of enhancing discussion, dialogue with these advisory bodies, because many times the work of the committee is seen to be taking the direction that has been observed because of the unfairness in the recommendations of the advisory bodies. A case in point is the Rwenzori National Park in Uganda, for example. The decisions that we just adopted referring to mines, the mines that were closed 40 years ago, 40 years, and the advisory body itself came and saw that the mines are not in existence anymore, but you can imagine the decision that has been adopted still makes reference to that mining activity in the protected property. This unfairness must be addressed in a holistic manner so that we turn these decisions around, because there is that in the back of our minds, there is that observation that this is not unfair and this must be done in a different way. So short of that, we are going to keep on discussing, taking the same direction until, I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I give Angola the floor. Angola, please.
Merci Madame la Présidente. L'Angola aimerait faire quelques commentaires par rapport aux discussions que nous accompagnons en ce moment. Un, de dire que nous aimerions féliciter les centres. J'imagine que ce n'est pas facile pour le secrétariat de mettre en œuvre les recommandations qui émanent de nos travaux. C'est beaucoup de défis pour eux. Je sais qu'ils le font avec l'accompagnement des organisations consultatives. Donc nous devons reconnaître le travail que le centre fait et toutes ces organisations qui nous accompagnent. Et nous devons également reconnaître que nous avons eu une session, la 42e session du comité a été productive, malgré certains points de vue contradictoires. Mais nous avons fait de notre mieux d'arriver quand même à prendre des décisions assez cohérentes qui permettent à ce que la Convention puisse continuer à être mise en œuvre. Donc nous avons réussi à trouver des consensus sous la coordination de Madame la Présidente. Et nous devons reconnaître également, là où il y a un travail, il ne manque jamais d'imperfection. Donc nous devons nous féliciter nous-mêmes du travail que nous venons de faire. Entre-temps, il y a 46 ans depuis que la Convention a été adoptée. La capacité aujourd'hui de la compréhension, de l'interprétation de la Convention face aux problématiques de développement n'est plus la même. Donc nous devons être prêts, je dis nous, c'est-à-dire les États parties, le comité, les organisations consultatives, les secrétariats et toutes les parties intéressées par la Convention, nous devons être prêts, c'est-à-dire disponibles, disposés pour pouvoir accepter de faire avancer des réflexions dans la mise en œuvre de la Convention. La nature humaine a horreur du changement, mais nous devons l'assumer. Les dynamiques ne sont plus les mêmes. Nous devons être préparés, accepter des réformes qui pourront être intégrées dans la mise en œuvre de la Convention. Préparons-nous dans cette perspective du dialogue ouvert que demain, les choses pourraient changer dans d'autres directions. Nous devons être prêts à les assumer. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to China, please. China.
Thank you, Madam Chair. China thanks the Secretariat to provide us this very important information on update of the World Heritage List and the list of World Heritage in danger. China also highly appreciates your excellent leadership, Madam Chairperson, to conduct the work when we face some very delicate notification cases this session and lead us to get out of the difficulties. China is of the view that there is an urgent need for both nomination and evaluation process to be reformed. The transparency and objectiveness of the process and evaluation process must be guaranteed. In the meantime, China also observes that the committee also follows the same way to study the dossier very carefully and to recognize the OUV of the nominations before make a decision to inscribe nominations on the list. Therefore, China thinks that the OUV should be given and judged only by the decision of the committee. The divergence between the recommendations made by the advisory bodies and the decision made by the committee should not just on the basis of the political interest or some other reasons. So a dialogue between state parties, advisory bodies, and the Secretariat must be enhanced. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Et maintenant, je donne la parole pour la France.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Je voulais livrer les réflexions de la délégation française sur ce très important sujet. D'abord, je voudrais dire un grand merci à Madame Rössler, la directrice du patrimoine mondial, y compris pour son intervention récente. Je vois bien ses préoccupations, nous comprenons son souci et nous espérons qu'elle va continuer à très bien diriger l'ensemble de ce bateau sur lequel nous sommes en commun avec les organes d'évaluation UICN, ICOMOS, ICROM. Je voudrais dire ensuite que la France attache une grande importance à ce système du patrimoine mondial et que pour nous, c'est non seulement un outil international, mais que c'est aussi un outil interne français. C'est pour ça qu'aucun des dossiers qui sont présentés, dans l'espérance qu'ils soient inscrits sur les listes, ne nous sont indifférents. C'est non seulement pour aider à la protection du patrimoine culturel et naturel, mais ça a aussi une dimension sociale. Si on reprend par exemple le dossier de Nîmes, c'est autant un dossier monumental de protection du patrimoine qu'un dossier, la municipalité me l'a redit plusieurs fois, de fierté pour une population qui, comme dans toutes les grandes villes du monde contemporain, est mélangée dans ses origines, oublie un peu le passé, ne voit plus le sens des monuments. Donc c'est pour ça que ce que vous faites et ce que nous faisons est extrêmement suivi localement et est extrêmement suivi aussi par les communautés. C'est très important. Je voulais dire aussi que sur les sites mémoriels et funéraires, nous avons bien compris qu'il y avait là un sujet sensible et je redis notre disponibilité au comité et au Centre du patrimoine mondial pour aider à la réflexion dans les mois qui viennent. Enfin, je voudrais dire un dernier mot pour la présidence bahreïnie, cher Sheikha Al-Khalifa. Nous avons vraiment, moi je suis là depuis quelques jours maintenant, 4-5 jours, et je peux mesurer à quel point vous avez tout mis en œuvre pour que la réunion se passe très bien, et nous vous en sommes très reconnaissants. Donc merci à vous.
Je vous remercie, et maintenant I give the floor to our reporter.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We have not received amendments to draft decisions 8C1, 8C2, and 8C3, However, Madam Chair, with your permission, as it was acknowledged during the debate, we did receive one proposed amendment from the delegation of Norway, which would fall under, let's say, a general item 8. So with your agreement, Madam Chair, what I would like to propose to you is that we could proceed to the adoption of 8C1, 8C2, and 8C3, and then we could perhaps come back to the amendment that was sent in by Norway. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection? No objection? Okay, I therefore declare draft decision 42 BC1, 8C1, 8C2, and 8C3 adopted. Please, you have the floor. Yes, put it in the screen. So the amendment proposed by Norway has distributed, and now we put it on the screen. So this is general item 8.
Thank you very much. You can now see on the screen the amendment that we have received from Norway. So you will see that this amendment would introduce a new decision, which is comprised of 4 paragraphs, and the delegation of Norway has already introduced it partly during the previous discussion. If I may, Madam Chair, just seeing this decision, make a small comment regarding paragraph 2, small suggestion, since paragraph 2 is recalling decision 42-8B24, which is the one about the sites of memory. I believe it would perhaps be appropriate to also recall decision 42-5A, where we had a decision to convene an expert group to this meeting, should this be agreeable with the authors of the text. So we could maybe put in paragraph 2, recalling decisions 42-8B24 and 42-5A. Thank you very much. And then the third paragraph, you might recognize this third paragraph because this was a paragraph that was moved from decision 42-8B35, which was for the inscription of Naumburg on the World Heritage List. And then we have a final paragraph about the evaluation of sites associated with recent conflicts. So this is the amendment we have received from Norway. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Firstly, I think the suggested addition to Clause 2 by the Rapporteur is a sensible addition. The question I have, though, is a question for the legal advisor, and it relates to proposed paragraph 4, which seeks to essentially put on the back burner the evaluation of dossiers that are associated with recent conflicts and other negative and divisive memories while this expert meeting is held and guidance developed. And I well acknowledge that the committee made the decision to adjourn discussion in relation to the Western Front dossier, and that was the decision of the committee, and this draft decision here seeks to extend that approach to other dossiers that have similar considerations. What I would like to understand is whether it is really within the ability of the committee to make a general decision that it won't evaluate dossiers that are put forward by states parties individually in accordance with the operational guidelines, or whether in fact it is necessary for us to consider as a committee each of those on a dossier by dossier basis.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our delegation favors this draft decision. We can go along with it. Nevertheless, the decision we took in item 5A was specifically related to sites associated with memories of recent conflicts. So we would suggest, with your leave, to strike out in paragraph 4, when it says sites associated with recent conflicts, we would strike out and other negative and divisive memories, as this is not in line with what we had agreed and in conjunction with our discussions in this specific topic. I'd like to take this opportunity to recall that last year we inscribed a property related to slavery. This could be considered a negative memory, and we believe that this was a very important step that the committee had took last year. On another note, when we were discussing Nauburg Cathedral, we proposed that an expert meeting should be convened to discuss integrated art. And I'd like to know, with your leave, Madam Chair, perhaps through the Secretariat, if this would be the place to put that recommendation, or should we leave to another agenda item? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tanzania, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Tanzania goes along with what Brazil has just said, that we get rid of other negative and divisive, and then the word recent associated with the recent conflicts. Recent to me does not give us a time frame, particularly when you wanted to understand what is recent. I thought if the distinguished committee members could agree, we could take out the word recent and then allow the experts who will be working on it to define what will be decent, and probably that could be given the terms of reference so that we are sure what we want to say about recent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. St. Kitts, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. St. Kitts and Nevis agrees in principle with the amended statement as presented by the delegation of Norway. However, we wish to associate ourselves with the comments of Australia and Brazil, and would also want the phrase "and other negative and divisive memories" removed, as we believe that this would impact on sites of particular importance to the Caribbean, such as sites of enslavement. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I give Cuba the floor.
Sí, gracias, señora presidenta. También compartimos la preocupación de Brasil. De hecho, cuando habíamos pedido la palabra, pensábamos justamente en todo lo asociado a la Ruta del Esclavo, que es un proyecto ya de la UNESCO que reconoce esta memoria que fue también negativa. Y tendríamos otra duda a raíz de lo que planteaba Australia, y es Como esto es un marco general que tendrá un impacto en el resto de los estados, no sé si quizás en el párrafo 3 deberíamos decir que esto se presentará a la Asamblea de Estados Partes también en el 2019, o sea, el resultado de esta revisión que vamos a examinar en la 43 sesión y que podría ser y que deberá ser presentada a la Asamblea de Estados Partes. Si no, en su momento, entonces también lo podríamos poner.
Thank you very much. Zimbabwe, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are in general agreement with the proposal by Norway, as well as the proposed amendments by Brazil and Tanzania. I also welcome the suggestion by Cuba that our result will go to the Assembly. I would like to ask the Center, because in our documentation, they circulated a list of sites that will be nominations that will be discussed at the 43rd session. And among them is a site from Rwanda, which is a site of memory. What does this mean going from now?
Thank you very much. Azerbaijan, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Azerbaijan is also in general agreement with the proposed draft amendments. However, I just would like to mention that regarding the second part of Para 3, we had a discussion that we have took some components from initially proposed draft amendments on Chapeau Decision 8, which was presented by colleagues from Australia, and incorporated them into 12A, as far as I understand. And here, I want to just mention that the reform on nomination process is also, at this stage, is included in the draft decision of 12A. So just a reminder whether we need a separate point on the referral here, because we have an overall reform on nomination in 12A. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kuwait, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. We also agree with the draft amendment submitted by Norway, paragraph number 3. If, as my colleagues from the delegation of Australia, there is no legal issues, I think it's a great, good suggestion, will help the committee work in the future. Regarding paragraph 4, as I heard from the delegation Brazil, the reason they are deleting it because it's already been said in other places. I don't see if that's the reason. So I think leaving it as is, as been submitted by Norway, we have no problems with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Angola, please.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Nous sommes d'accord de manière générale à la proposition de la Norvège. Par contre, nous aimerions que la dernière partie du paragraphe 3 nous soit un peu expliquée. Je n'arrive pas à comprendre. Décide d'inclure l'examen de la procédure de renvoi et de son application. De quel renvoi? Ça paraît un peu ambigu jusque-là. J'aimerais qu'on apporte un peu de clarification sur cette dernière partie de la décision qui doit être prise. Deuxième chose. Par rapport au terme récent que la Tanzanie a demandé de supprimer, je pense qu'il faut qu'on le garde. C'est le libellé, en fait. C'est le libellé actuel tel qu'il est présenté dans la réflexion de l'ICOMOS. Maintenant, comme la réflexion avance, quand nous arriverons effectivement à avoir un document définitif, donc là, nous saurons si le mot récent devrait être supprimé ou pas. Donc, à ce stade, on peut le garder, je pense. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Hungary, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hungary agrees with the proposal of Norway in the paragraphs 3 and 4 almost totally. So I would like to emphasize that we are speaking now not only conflicts in general, but of course the recent is to be clarified, what does it mean exactly. So, or present time, or the near past, or maybe some 100 years or so. So it should be surely to be clarified. The other thing is the negative and divisive reflection is another question, because in my opinion, it is almost the most important point, most important statement in this paragraph, because the ghost of the World Heritage is for the mostly positive issues, positive sides, and so on. And we have to discuss what kind of places, what classification can have such places with negative or divisive memories in the World Heritage list. Let me mention that with this problematic, not only the World Heritage Committee has taken a decision or a statement, but also there are some other conventions and places or possibilities to have memories, to give memories for them. So I would like to propose, not only from the point of view of the World Heritage Convention, to discuss this issue, but also from other similar conventions or possibilities for Europe or for the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Spain, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Intentaré ser breve. Nosotros apoyamos la propuesta formulada por Noruega y respecto al comentario hecho por Angola de mantener la palabra reciente, también creemos que hay que ser coherente con con los trabajos que se han solicitado. Sin embargo, aunque me parece, en relación con lo que acaba de decir el delegado de Hungría, aunque me parece un ejercicio adecuado en otras convenciones, no creo que sea este el marco en el que debemos solicitarlo expresamente. Por lo tanto, intentemos mantener el texto cuanto más limpio posible y, por favor, agradezco que se nos haya añadido a ese grupo de estados que apoyan a la enmienda propuesta. Gracias.
Thank you very much. China, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Having heard about remarks from the different committee members, China also thanks the Norwegian delegation to put forward such substantial amendments to this item. Taking into consideration of these concerns, I think that it will be appropriate to push this paragraph 3 under item 12A, since we will have to examine these new paragraphs concerning the whole nomination process. So I think under item 12A will be a good place when we reflect the content of the paragraph 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Angola, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Donc, je voyais déjà dans le point 4, c'est l'Angola qui a proposé de garder, ce n'est pas l'Ouganda. C'est l'Angola qui a proposé. Donc, je reviens sur ça. Donc, on a demandé de garder tout simplement pour souci de cohérence. Sinon, on va changer également cette terminologie dans la décision qui a été prise au 5A. Donc, pour éviter de revenir sur les 5A, autant mieux garder les libellés tels qu'il a été, disons, présenté par l'ICOMOS qui travaille sur le sujet. Alors, c'est l'étude qui va déterminer finalement quelles sont les différentes thématiques qui seront traitées sous ce qu'on appelle aujourd'hui, jusqu'à présent, les sites associés à des conflits. Donc, on a demandé à l'ICOMOS de faire une étude inclusive. Donc, donnons du temps à l'ICOMOS avec les experts, après de revenir sur des termes clairs, après avoir consulté toutes les parties qui sont intéressées par cette thématique. Nous avons demandé un éclaircissement pour la dernière partie du point 3, du paragraphe 3. Pour nous, ce n'est pas très clair que nous puissions donner notre avis là-dessus.
Thank you very much. Norway, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wish to thank all the distinguished members of the committee for this very substantial discussion. I did indeed ask for advice and guidance, and I think a lot of very good input has been provided. Concerning the question from the distinguished delegate from Angola, whether or not the referral mechanism itself is the challenge, or if it is the process, if it is the timing, I'm not sure of this. But still, I think it is important that we have a discussion as soon as we have the possibility to work with the operational guidelines next year, and to see this in conjunction with the discussions that will be on the nomination process, whether there is something in the timing of the cycles, whether it is the application of the mechanisms itself. I don't have the answer, but I think it is a very important debate that we have. So thank you very much for raising the point, Ambassador from Angola. I would also kindly ask the Secretariat for a little bit of clarification on the actual decision text that was in 8B24. My mind is getting a little bit slow and sluggish after 9 days. So I might have been imprecise, so I would kindly ask for clarification. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, we are going to give first the legal advisor, then Mr. Balsamo, then Mrs. Rossler to reply to all your questions. The ICOMOS. So first, please, the legal advisor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. In response to the question from Australia, I'd first like to specify that under the Convention, the states parties have the right to have their nominations reviewed by the committee, provided that they're on the tentative list and subject to criteria and procedure foreseen in the operational guidelines. Now, paragraph 140 of the operational guidelines foresee that on receipt of nominations from states parties, the Secretariat will acknowledge receipt, check for completeness, and register nominations. So this would mean that from the moment the nomination is complete, the Secretariat will have the obligation to register the nomination. However, I understand that this paragraph would concern only evaluation, and the evaluation could obviously and would need to be undertaken in conformity with the decisions of the committee and against criteria and proposals from the committee. So essentially, you are in a way postponing the evaluations of certain files. You cannot restrict the registration by the Secretariat of nomination files from the moment they're complete, but obviously the evaluation, you're sort of postponing the evaluation until further study and further reflection is undertaken on this theme. In no way are you limiting with this paragraph the rights of member states to have their nominations reviewed. Well, I will also suppose that in submitting nominations, the states parties will also bear in mind the decision if you decide to take such a decision. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Very much. Mr. Balsamo, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, there was a question, I think, from the delegation of Tanzania concerning the presence of the file of Rwanda in information 8b3 in the document that present files for the next session, but I wish to note that that document presents all the nominations that have been received, and the file from Rwanda was considered incomplete, so it's actually not on the schedule, on the agenda for the next session. There were a lot of intervention concerning the world recent conflicts and other negative and divisive memories. So I wish to remind that only, I think, 3 days ago, the committee has put this word in the decision 8B24, which is the one that is recalled in the amendment proposed by Norway. So this is actually basically the aim of the reflection that is needed to clarify and this reflection that is needed and that has been requested. So this is what has been put in decision 8B24. There was also a question from Angola concerning the review of the referral process, and if I may, if you allow me, Chair, I may try to address that by saying that that wording is actually coming from the draft decision that was put forward in the case of Naumburg, and that at the moment of adoption, of course, it was not kept in that decision, but through the floor committee members, I don't remember exactly which delegation, but asked to keep that part of that draft decision and put it somewhere else. So we are seeing it here coming back. And just to give a bit more of thought about this request, as we have also stated in our brief representation of 8C today, we have seen that there is this reoccurring phenomena by which on one side all the referrals that are presented to the committee over the last years are basically automatically inscribed, and on the other side there's also this effect by which, as was mentioned earlier in intervention, by Brazil, it's what we call the poisoned apple, and the referral has been used as a nice gift to state parties that actually is not a nice gift, because then they found themselves with requests that are not able to do in the framework of a referral, redoing boundaries, redoing a nomination, revise the justification, and then we note that statistically when this nomination then come back, they have still another negative recommendation. So it basically was to review all this process and to avoid further problems that some reflection is needed on the process of the referral. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Ecomos, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Our intervention concerns the deletion of the word recent. If this word would be deleted, the decision would read sites associated with conflicts, site associated with conflicts. And this word would cover many archaeological sites, most of the castles, and 100% fortresses, and many historical walls. So it would not limit the scope of the work. So we would advise not to delete this word. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I give the floor to the rapporteur to just show the amendment, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And first of all, we apologize that the English text is not on the screen. We seem to be having a little technical problem, but we can proceed with the French version. So I will sum up the discussions we have had. It seems to me that regarding the scope of this paragraph, the committee seems to be in agreement. However, there were a few comments received and some amendments proposed. Now, regarding paragraph 3, if I am to understand, we had one suggestion from China that this paragraph should instead be moved under item 12A, and this is not reflected on the screen. But after having heard the Secretariat, because there were also some questions regarding to the exact scope and wording, this is directly lifted from a previous decision. And in that previous decision, it was put by the Secretariat because it is a general trend about the referral mechanism. So going on forward, in paragraph 4, we have heard suggestions on one side to delete the word recent, but we have heard some opinions that it should instead be retained, and ICOMOS has also just intervened to explain in their view why it should be retained. And then we have a few comments about whether we should retain the part that talks about other negative and divisive memories. But if I am to understand correctly, the Secretariat's intervention, that is language directly lifted from decision 42-8B24, which we can see in paragraph 2. And if I do not wish to add to the confusion, but if we are to have a general item 8, and we are now moving certain parts from what was supposed to go in 12A under general item 8, I do believe that we have received an amendment for a final paragraph on 12A from Australia and Norway, which might then instead be better be placed here. And unfortunately, I only have the English version, so I'm going to read out the paragraph in English. Also decides to include in the draft agenda of its 43rd session a general item 8 to allow discussion on the nomination and evaluation cycle. Yes, we still don't have them. So we will reflect this proposal on the screen. And well, this is the way I would sum up the stage of our discussion right now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Azerbaijan, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Just once more to repeat our point on the second part of Para 3. So in other words, second what was proposed by China. Change the place, or if we don't change the place, think about the second part. Again, as I said, it's a part of broader nomination process, and which is already covered by draft decision under 12A. That's my first point. And my second point is about if now we agree that to have already a general chapeau decision under item 8, we would like to come up with a proposal, new Para 3, I believe. If, with your permission, I can read it out. Also recalls that all its decisions, including those on nominations, should be consistent with the convention, the operational guidelines, and previous decisions of the committee. Thank you, and I think the rationale behind is very clear. All last days we are speaking about consistency of our decisions and compliance with the language of convention and operational guidelines. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to quick respond to some concerns that were raised during the debate. We would like, in the sake of consistency, to keep the word recent in this decision, since we already took decision 5A that specifically mentions sites associated with the recent conflict. So in the sake of consistency, we'd like to keep the word recent in this decision. Madam Chair, we're not altogether sure that our question was answered regarding the expert meeting on integrated art. We sent that amendment during the discussions of Naumburg Cathedral, and we want to know if this should be in the Secretariat with the right place to have that amendment, or should we have that issue in another agenda item? Thank you.
Spain, please, you have the floor.
Quiero intervenir en relación con el párrafo de Azerbaiyán. Me alegra mucho que se habla de la consistencia, porque creo que es la palabra que más repetido en este comité. Yo creo que no podemos poner al mismo nivel una norma jurídica internacional como es la Convención, la interpretación de las mismas, que son las directrices operacionales, y las decisiones previas. Es decir, cada comité tiene la obligación, obviamente, de aplicar la Convención y las directrices operativas. Sin embargo, no está jurídicamente vinculado por las decisiones previas, con lo cual yo preferiría que se quedara ese párrafo en la Convención y las Operation Guidelines.
Okay, Madam Ressler, please, you can answer.
Thank you very much. Just to answer the question from Brazil. Yes, you can put this part of the decision under this text. I think it's the most suitable. My understanding is also that there is general text which was proposed, I think, by Norway or by Australia, which is now under item 12, which could be moved here, but it's totally up to you. Maybe the rapporteur can then clarify. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. The rapporteur, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Yes, in fact, the proposal we have received from Azerbaijan for this new paragraph 3 is almost exactly the same proposal that we received from Australia and Norway under 12A, which would be paragraph 14 in 12A, except for the part where the distinguished delegate of Spain proposed to delete the second part relating to previous decisions of the committee. So as I said earlier, when we didn't have the screen, if we are to have certain parts moved here, we could maybe end this decision with a final paragraph proposed by Australia and Norway for 12A. So then we could put here, also decides to include in the draft agenda of its 43rd session a general item 8 to allow discussion on the nomination and evaluation cycle. Also, thank you, yes, full stop. We have also heard the intervention from the distinguished delegate of Brazil, who has tabled already a text for a previous decision, for the Naumburg decision. So we are now we have that text, we're going to put it up on the screen, maybe as a new paragraph 6, and then what I have just suggested could be a paragraph 7. And then we are going to have the proposal for the new expert group also reflected here at the end. Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Norway, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry. If I recall correctly from the statement from the legal advisor, I think it was yesterday or the day before, concerning the new Para 3, we do agree with Spain that the committee is convening each time for a new time. So in that sense, I think Spain's argument is very valid, but possibly the legal advisor could provide some clarification on that. Concerning the proposal from the rapporteur, if I remember correctly, we were discussing the nomination process, so that was the term that was used. And I was also thinking, no, thank you, I think that'll be enough. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Australia, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. So just to run through the various amendments. So firstly, the Clause 3 amendment from Azerbaijan. Australia was the author originally of that text, and it was proposed to be incorporated in our amendments to item 12A. Having heard the intervention from Spain and Norway, I actually do understand a point that's being made, and subject to the advice of the legal advisor, we would support the proposal from Spain that that last element be deleted. In relation to point 4 and Azerbaijan's suggestion that the text relating to the second part of the text about the referral procedure, I do agree that that is appropriately placed in 12A, but indeed it could just be deleted because the referral procedure will be part of what is looked at under 12A, so it would be more efficient just to delete it, but if it's to be moved, that's perfectly all right with us. And then as to the last point that Norway raised on the now last element of the, it must be 7, is it? I think we've got nomination and evaluation cycle, and I took it Norway to be saying that should just say the nomination process, and we'd certainly be happy with that simplification.
Thank you. Angola, please. You have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je pense que la chose devient de plus en plus compliquée. On n'a pas, parce que le nœud du problème, c'est le paragraphe 4. Ce n'est pas les autres questions viennent juste renforcer. On doit prendre une décision sur ce processus de renvoi. C'est là le nœud du problème. Il faut qu'on règle ça, et puis les autres questions seront vues. À mon avis, les questions que le Brésil soulève, si je me résume par rapport au débat qu'on a eu, le problème était qu'il y avait une surreprésentation de certains biens sur la liste du patrimoine mondial, entre autres la question des cathédrales. Donc le débat était qu'il y a besoin qu'il y ait un groupe de travail pour raffiner, disons, les outils d'évaluation, de voir comment ces biens surreprésentés pouvaient être gérés dans le processus d'inscription. Donc ne nous limitons pas dans la réflexion uniquement aux arts. Donc c'est plus large que les arts. Donc prenons la question dans sa dimension intégrale. Donc je ne vois pas comment on va insérer ces paragraphes ici. Donc ici on parle d'un sujet précis, c'est les questions des sites liés au conflit, et on veut peut-être retarder, disons, l'évaluation des dossiers qui seront soumis compte tenu du mandat que nous avons confié à l'ICOMOS de revoir. Donc c'est deux choses différentes. Ça n'a rien à voir avec la surreprésentation et la question des sites liés au conflit. Donc voilà comment nous devons réfléchir pour faciliter notre prise de décision. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. I give the floor to Azerbaijan, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. We thank colleagues for their comments on the second part of new proposed para 3. We support the idea that it can be clarified by a legal advisor, but in any case, the intention to put it here was not about legal obligation of the previous committee decisions, but the main keyword here is consistency. But again, as I said, we will be happy to hear the position of legal advisor on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I believe we have perhaps a different acknowledgement of the discussions that we held during the Naumburg Cathedral nomination, because the point we raised, and that was seconded by a number of delegations, was that perhaps we should further reflect on how integrated art could be the basis for identifying the attributes that convey OUV. So in that sense, was not on over-representation of cathedrals, if I understood correctly from the last intervention from Angola. So we'd like to keep this paragraph somewhere in any decision. If this is not the right place, we can move elsewhere. From what we heard from the Secretariat, we believe that this is an opportunity to have this text in a decision, so we could have it here. There is only one issue about the French translation, and I now turn to French. Dans la version française, je pense qu'il serait mieux de dire qu'il décide de convoquer une réunion d'experts sur le patrimoine mondial et l'art intégré afin de permettre une réflexion et d'élaborer des orientations sur la question de savoir si et comment les œuvres d'art faisant partie intégrante des biens proposés peuvent servir de base pour la valeur universelle exceptionnelle. Again? Alors. Sur la question de savoir si et comment les œuvres d'art faisant partie intégrante des biens proposés peuvent servir de base pour la VUE. Merci.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to the legal advisor, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. In paragraph 3, if the term should is to be interpreted as a legal obligation in the same way as must, which would seem to be the case in this paragraph, since reference is also made to the convention, which is a legal obligation, then I would concur that the deletion of the reference to the previous decisions of the committee would be appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I give now the floor to the reporter. Excuse me, Tunisia, please, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais revenir sur le paragraphe 3 et je comprends très bien le contexte dans lequel les différentes délégations l'ont formulé ainsi, mais au risque de me répéter par rapport à ce que j'ai dit hier, on devrait uniquement mettre des tendances et non pas des obligations. Parce que rappelle également que toutes ces décisions, dont celles concernant les propositions d'inscription, devraient être cohérentes avec la Convention, oui, mais si on veut être cohérent avec les termes de la Convention, on ne peut pas dire que nous devons suivre les propositions. Nous devons tendre à les appliquer, mais nous ne devons pas les suivre, sinon ce ne seront plus des propositions. Sur le plan de leur nature, ça demeure des propositions. Il est évident qu'on devrait s'en inspirer et se rapprocher, et si nous mettons cela, nous, de manière indirecte, nous sommes en train de changer leur nature en des prédécisions. Donc, pour la même proposition que j'avais faite hier, devrait tendre à, et que cela soit une ligne de conduite plus qu'une obligation normative.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to the reporter and to give us paragraph by paragraph, or when we finish like that.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Indeed, as the amendments themselves and the comments received are quite complex, it seems it would be helpful if we can just start from the top. If you could just call up on the English text. Thank you. So paragraph 1 reads, having examined documents WHC/18/42.com/8b and WHC/18/42com/inf8b3,
Australia, you have the floor, please.
Yeah, sorry to intervene again, Madam Chairperson, but I just have a great difficulty with the amendment that's just been suggested by the distinguished delegate from Tunisia, because in English, if we talk about something tending to be consistent, it means that every now and again we might do things that aren't consistent. And if the obligation on the committee is always to do things that are in compliance with the convention and the operational guidelines, then we have a problem if we're going to have a recollection that every now and again we might sort of steer ourselves away from what we're legally required to do.
Tunisia, please.
Je remercie le distingué représentant de l'Australie et je comprends tout à fait sa remarque, mais dans ce cas, le problème n'est pas dans ma proposition, il est dans le paragraphe lui-même. On ne rappelle pas ce qui est déjà obligatoire. La Convention et les règles de procédure s'appliquent à nous indiscutablement et on devrait les appliquer sans rappeler qu'on les applique. À partir du moment où on réécrit cela, on n'exprime pas le droit, on exprime une orientation. Et dans ce cas, on doit inciter les prochaines sessions du comité à se rapprocher le plus possible de la Convention. Mais sinon, dans ce cas, tout le paragraphe est inutile. Est-ce qu'on vient, nous, par une résolution dans notre 42e session, rappeler que la Convention s'applique et est obligatoire? Non. Elle l'est par sa nature juridique. Donc je comprends ce paragraphe comme étant une incitation au prochain comité de se rapprocher le plus possible de la lettre et l'esprit de la Convention, et nous sommes tout à fait d'accord. Dans ce cas, puisque ce n'est pas le droit, mais c'est une incitation, dans ce cas, on met la tendance.
Thank you very much. Australia, maybe you have a proposal. Angola, Australia. Australia, please. Angola.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I just missed your signal. I think there's been a lot of discussion about this, and I'm worried that the committee may not be able to find consensus on a form of words, and I would actually like to propose that we delete 3 in its entirety.
Thank you very much. Angola, please.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je reviens aux 2. Si on doit intégrer la proposition du Brésil qui vient à la fin, qui parle justement de l'art intégré, il faudra qu'on rappelle également la décision. C'est ce que je disais. Donc, les 2 décisions qui sont là sont reliées au site de mémoire. S'il faut rajouter la question de l'art intégré, il faut rappeler également la décision liée à cette thématique.
Thank you very much. Azerbaijan, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. So we see indeed the legal issue here. So, but still we're in favor of keeping this paragraph. And as a sign of consensus, we would like to separate the last part from the first part in paragraph 3 as a matter of concept. And if I may tell the addition to this, so after operational guidelines and to take into consideration the previous decisions of the committee. I think with this should impose it on the convention and the operational guidelines, and then we just take into consideration the previous decisions, which serves for consistency and is important in terms of institutional memory. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, you have the floor.
Madame la Présidente, la Tunisie se félicite de la proposition australienne et nous sommes d'avis de supprimer le paragraphe 3 dans sa totalité. Il ne nous avance à rien et on a vu, à vouloir trop toucher aux mots, on crée plus d'incompréhension alors que nous le rédigeons. Que dire des prochains comités? Donc nous sommes tout à fait d'accord avec l'Australie sur sa suppression totale.
Merci beaucoup. Et maintenant, Zimbabwe, please. Zimbabwe.
Madam Chair, I withdraw my request.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please.
Madam Chair, just to try to contemplate what has been said by our colleague from Tunisia and also by our colleague from Australia, maybe we can make some adjustment in paragraph 3 to read, also recalls that all its decisions should be consistent with the dispositions and the spirit of the convention, the operational guidelines, and the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Norway, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is a bit of fatigue on our behalf at least, so we would support Australia and Tunisia's proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bosnia, please.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. La même chose que la Norvège. C'est-à-dire, nous voudrions aussi soutenir la proposition de l'Australie, de la Tunisie et maintenant de la Norvège. Merci.
Thank you very much. So I think there is an agreement to delete paragraph 3 as proposed by Australia. Is there any objection? Azerbaijan, please.
Well, just to state that, in fact, we support the new proposal by Brazil, but it's kind of a general opinion in the room. Then, of course, we are not going against the consensus. Thank you.
So there is no objection. We have to adopt, please, huh? We don't want to waste our time. If you agree, we go further. Do you agree? Yes? Paragraph is deleted now. So paragraph is deleted now and it is adopted. Go to the next, please. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. But before we go to the next one, if we could just scroll up a bit to paragraph 2, because that's where we originally were. After the intervention of the distinguished delegate of Angola, I believe he would like to see a reference here. But what I wish to suggest through you, Madam Chair, is that we come back to paragraph 2 after we have discussed the paragraph proposed by the delegation of Brazil, because should that paragraph be retained as it is, then we can go back to paragraph 2 and add the reference to the particular decision, if it's agreeable to you. And if it's agreeable, then we can go now to paragraph 4.
Next paragraph.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And paragraph 4 reads, considering that in compliance with the Convention and the operational guidelines, outstanding universal value is recognized at the time of inscription of a property on the World Heritage List, and that no recognition of outstanding universal value is foreseen prior to this stage, decides to include the review of the referral procedure and its application for examination in the framework of the next revision of the operational guidelines at its 43rd session in 2019. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there any comments? No? Thank you very much. So it is adopted.
Thank you very much. Then paragraph 5 reads, also decides that the evaluation of sites associated with conflicts shall be undertaken once a comprehensive reflection has taken place and the committee at its 44th session has discussed and decided how these sites might relate to the purpose and scope of the World Heritage Convention and its operational guidelines. I just wish to flag that the way I read out the paragraph implied deleting the words that were suggested for deletion. But if you'll allow me, then I will read it out once again, because I think it's important that we hear it, how it would sound the other way around. So the alternative would be, also decides that the evaluation of sites associated with recent conflicts and other negative and divisive memories shall be undertaken once a comprehensive reflection has taken place and the committee at its 44th session has discussed and decided how these sites might relate to the purpose and scope of the World Heritage Convention and its operational guidelines. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Please, Australia, please.
I'm just mindful of the intervention by ICOMOS, which pointed out that a broad interpretation of what is meant by conflict would knock out a very large number of future nominations of castles and all sorts of things that may be, long ago in history. And I think, as Angola pointed out, for consistency with the decision taken under 5A, it is more appropriate to reference recent conflicts.
Thank you very much. Hungary, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hungary, as before, is in favor of the second version, with the recent and with reflecting that recent negative and other negative and divisive memories to be retained. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any other comments? Norway? No, Norway, please.
It was just a suggestion if this one is a bit complicated. We have been using inverted commas when we have been referring to previously adopted text, so we could possibly use that as a compromise.
Thank you. Is there any objection?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as we have heard, we have some support for retaining the original wording of this paragraph as it was. And then previously we had suggestions to delete certain parts of it, but now we have heard support for retaining the paragraph as it was. So now you will see it like that on the screen, and I will also read it out once again. Paragraph 5 would read, also decides that the evaluation of sites associated with recent conflicts and other negative and divisive memories shall be undertaken once a comprehensive reflection has taken place and the committee at its 44th session has discussed and decided how these sites might relate to the purpose and scope of the World Heritage Convention and its operational guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So shall we adopt it? So it is Brazil. Brazil, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would go along with Norway to put in inverted commas the exact wording, and in that sense, we would need to strike out, as we had noted before, and other negative and divisive memories. So our suggestion, in line with what Norway has just said, to put evaluation of inverted and then quote, sites associated with memories of recent conflict, end of quote. shall be undertaken. What is being quoted is the wording from Decision 5A that we took last week. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize for coming in at this point. I do, unless I am mistaken, after hearing the Secretariat who has intervened earlier, I do believe that this particular part about other negative and divisive memories was not taken from Decision 5A, because when this decision was drafted by Norway, it only made reference, if we could scroll back up a little bit, to paragraph 2, so that we see that it only made reference to Decision 42 COM 8B 24. And I do believe, after what the Secretariat said earlier, that the language, other negative and divisive memories, was used in that decision. So in that sense, this part would not be recalling from Decision 5A, but from Decision 8B 24. But maybe, Madam Chair, through you, we could request the original author of the decision Norway to explain. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Norway, please, could you please explain?
Well, as I said, we do suffer from a bit of fatigue. So I do remember that the Secretariat commented that it was lifted directly from the original text in 8B 24. I have to admit that we don't have very strong opinions on it, but we would like to retain the original language. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. So it seems at this point, with paragraph 5, if we could just scroll down so that we can see it in its entirety, we have suggestions to keep the whole paragraph in the original language, and then we have one suggestion to delete a reference that was lifted from Decision 42 COM 8B 24. So, Madam Chair, to you, we might request the committee to express their views on whether they wish to retain this reference from that decision or prefer deleting it. Thank you very much.
Committee member, do you have any objection? Hungary, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the last, Hungary would emphasize that the paragraph, the part of the paragraph proposed to be deleted by the distinguished delegate of Brazil would mean a significant loss for this paragraph, because it is totally different from the recent conflicts. And Hungary is the meaning, for Hungary it means a very important part, a very important point for this paragraph, and we would like to retain again it.
Thank you very much. Angola, please.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Pour un problème de cohérence entre le paragraphe 2 et ce paragraphe 5, il faudra donc conserver et les conflits récents et les autres mémoires. En fait, parce qu'on rappelle deux textes. Si on rappelle les deux textes, donc il faudra qu'on respecte les terminologies qui sont dans les deux textes. Je pense que ça nous faciliterait la tâche.
Thank you very much. Sankits.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We agree with the suggestion by Brazil to delete that statement and other negative and divisive memories. We think it appears that there seems to be a conflation of two reports and not the one mentioned by Brazil. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So because we don't have time, we'll move on. Continue, please.
Thank you very much. So if I follow up proceedings correctly, we still have the proposals to delete, as you can see on the screen, that part. So then the paragraph would read, also decides that the evaluation of sites associated with recent conflicts shall be undertaken once a comprehensive reflection has taken place and the committee at its 44th session has discussed and decided how these sites might relate to the purpose and scope of the World Heritage Convention and its operational guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we adopt it? Is there any objection? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Then we pass to paragraph 6, which is the paragraph that was previously proposed by Brazil under a different decision, and it would read, decides to convene an expert meeting on the World Heritage and integrated art to allow for reflection and to develop guidance on whether and how works of art as integral components of nominated properties may be proposed as basis for conveying OUV, provided that extra budgetary funding is available, and invites the states parties to contribute to this end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection? No. Thank you. It is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, if we could go back to paragraph 2, since we had adopted this, and consistent with what the distinguished delegate of Angola asked, we could also recall decision 42com 8b.35, and maybe we could recall this after decision 24. Now, if we could just move it. Yes, if we could just move it there. Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Okay. Is there any objection? It is adopted.
Thank you. And now we go back to paragraph 7. Also decides to include in the draft agenda of its 43rd session a general item A to allow discussion on the nomination process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection? So it is adopted. Now, general decision, item 8. Yes, is adopted. So now we go further. Dear colleague, item 13, 14, 9A and 12A are related as they contain elements that have been discussed by the ad hoc group. It is proposed that the respective decisions are examined, each with the respective item. However, the adoption is to be done once the decisions have been agreed in order to ensure the consistency between them. Bahrain, as chief of the ad hoc group, will provide us with an explanation of the proposed approach. Bahrain, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you know, the mandate of the ad hoc working group included several items related to the sustainability of the World Heritage Fund as a follow-up of the roadmap adopted last year, the definition of upstream process, the analysis of the recommendations of IOS comparative mapping studies. Therefore, the original draft decision 42com 12A prepared by the ad hoc working group contained paragraphs related to all these matters. At the beginning of the work of the budget group, it was suggested by the chair to integrate the budget-related paragraphs of draft decision 42-12A into the draft budget decision 42-14 for more consistency and to facilitate the follow-up on respective items and topics. Likewise, it was also considered more appropriate to include a paragraph on international assistance of draft decision 42-1218 into the draft decision on item 13 dedicated to international assistance, as revised further to discussions by the budget group. Following the same logic, the delegation of Bahrain proposed an amendment to integrate the paragraph related to upstream process of draft decision 42-12A into the draft decision of item 9A on upstream. This explains why the three draft decisions on the items which the committee will examine now, item 13, 14, and 9A, contain elements coming originally from the draft decision 42-12A. Accordingly, an amendment was also submitted by the delegation of Bahrain to adjust the content of draft decision 12A, keeping only a reference on issues related to nominations, as well as a proposal to extend the mandate of the ad hoc working group. We hope these explanations will help clarify the reasons behind the various amendments proposed for the four items, which will be discussed now since they are all interrelated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we move to item 13 devoted to the international assistance. To this end, I would like to invite you to pay attention to document 13. I invite Mrs. Tucharova from the World Heritage Center to introduce the item. Please, Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as explained by Bahrain, there are elements which are included in the draft decision, but they come from the decision 12A. We'll address that at the end of the presentation. Very briefly, what does this document concern? The international assistance requests which have been submitted and approved, and the first part is specifically related to the international assistance requests within the purview of the World Heritage Committee. That is what you have to decide as a committee, and these are the requests above 30,000. All requests, as you know, under this amount, under 30,000, are within the purview of the chairperson of the World Heritage Committee. Next slide, please. You'll see in the next slides the international assistance requests which you have to decide. That is those beyond, above the amount of 30,000. The first one is from Ghana, concerning a preparation of a management plan for the forts and castles of Ghana. This activity is a priority for the site, which has been inscribed on the World Heritage List since '79. And all the details, of course, about this request are available and can be found between page 3 and 7 of the document. As you can see, the amount is $85,086, and this is an amount available under the corresponding category. That is, we still have this amount, and nothing prevents the committee to approve this request if it so wishes, given the fact that his has been evaluated positively by the panel. The next one is an international assistance request which exceeds the 30,000 threshold only with 460, but this again comes for your decision and for your approval. As mentioned, that's another one. Another request for international assistance, which concerns the development of an integration management plan for Berat and Girocastra, recommended for approval, and if you wish, you may do so. Nothing prevents, because there is available funds. Another request is coming from the Ukraine for the amount of 50,500 for the purchase of a trailing lift with a telescopic boom, Dino lift. This concerns a lift for the maintenance of the property St. Sophia Cathedral and related monastic buildings. The acquisition has not been considered as a priority, and therefore it is not recommended for approval. What is the status? You can see in the next slide, you can see what is the status of international assistance requests in 2018, and you see that the amounts are going down, and we'll have next year less than what we had in 2018. We'll have about 40% under management and conservation, and even less for preparatory assistance. As you know, the iOS mapping study concerning the processes and working methods of the convention had actually recommended that some working procedures and methods be made more efficient and consistent with methods by other conventions, and a specific proposal was made for the international assistance mechanism, which was considered quite cumbersome and quite costly and heavy. Therefore, the ad hoc group has discussed that, made certain suggestions which were picked up by the budget group, as explained by Bahrain a while ago. And in this regard, the agreed text by the budget group has been included in the draft decision, which you'll see on the screen just in a little while. Otherwise, the draft decision is on page 12 of the English and French versions of your documents. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments or objections? Okay, so the reporter, you give us the amendment. If there is any amendment, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Yes, we do have amendments. These are the ones coming from the working group, and you can see them on the screen. I believe they are agreed, and everybody had these decisions beforehand. Thank you very much.
Is there any comments? As you are aware of this, we'll keep it open up to the end. It will be in front of you and we adopt it in total at the end of this discussion. So we'll move. Dear colleague, as indicated earlier, the draft decision 42-13 as agreed, maybe if you agreed, even if you have any comment, you can just provide it for us later. And we finally adopt the decision at the end of the discussion on the fourth item in total. Now we will discuss item 14. As you know, the working group on the budget met throughout our session, and therefore I would like to give the floor to the chairperson of this working group to present the report, his report, and the draft decision proposed on this matter that was distributed to you. Please, Mr. Baratli, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. I have the pleasure to report back on the results of the Budget Working Group discussions and present the draft decision 42-14-Rev. First, I wish to express my sincere gratitude for the trust that you have placed in me and the government of Azerbaijan by electing me as the chairperson of the Budget Working Group. As scheduled, the Budget Working Group met from the 26th to 29th June 2018 for the 4 hours of discussions. I would like to thank all the delegates of committee members and state parties, as well as representatives of the World Heritage Center, ICAMOS, IUCN, and ICROM, who attended the meetings of the Budget Group. Their input, cooperation, and support allowed us to conclude our work in a very efficient and timely manner. Concerning methodology, the working group agreed to work on a revised draft decision, which combined the original text of draft decision 42-14 and the budget-related paragraphs of draft decision 12A. As you may know, I also had the honor to facilitate discussions of the ad hoc working group on the matters concerning related to the follow-up on a number of measures, including in the roadmap for sustainability of the World Heritage Fund, which was approved by the 31st session of the committee in Krakow 2017. Among these were the development of a fundraising and communication strategy, informal group of friends, follow-up the mapping study of the Internal Oversight Service concerning advisory services. To present the revised draft decision 42-14, which was agreed by the budget group, I would like to concentrate on each of the two sets of core elements explained above. Concerning the first part of revised decision 42-14, the group discussed the paragraphs proposed originally by the Secretariat and made constructive contributions, clarifications and adjustment of language in view of streamlining the text and, where necessary, strengthening the message to the stakeholders of the Convention. The text agreed includes proposed decisions on a number of issues. The issue of foremost importance of the sustainability of the fund, the timely payment of the assessed compulsory and voluntary contributions to the World Heritage Fund is highlighted in the first place. The voluntary contributions of a number of states parties, including through doubling of their assessed contributions, is commended, while a call is made to all other state parties to allocate supplementary voluntary contributions to the World Heritage Fund, with a target of 10 or more state parties doubling their annual contributions, as foreseen in the roadmap and also in the resource mobilization strategy that was developed by the ad hoc group, and which I will address further in my presentation. The budget group also discussed the need for some flexibility in the management of, in order to improve effectiveness and efficient use of the already scarce resources of the fund. Thus, the draft decision recommends to authorize the director of the center to make budgetary adjustments when necessary and, if possible, to consult the committee in the second year of the biennium with up to a maximum of 15% of the World Heritage Fund expenditure plan in the second year of each biennium. This aims at increased efficiency and improved expenditure rate rather than having remaining amounts at the end of the biennium, and at the same time needs remaining unmet under other budget lines because the World Heritage Center has not had the flexibility to do a necessary adjustment. The Secretariat would report accordingly to the committee at its following sessions. A similar solution is proposed with regard to the serious risk level of exchange rate fluctuation on the fund. The committee may wish to allow the center to proceed with necessary budgetary adjustments in the second year of each biennium with a maximum additional amount of $100,000 to cover for the provision for exchange rate fluctuation from the operating reserve of the fund in case the initial amount approved would not be sufficient. To improve efficiency, the enhanced use of temporary assistance through suitable contractual modalities for the implementation of activities in the framework of the fund is also proposed. The group also discussed the Executive Board document 204X/5 Part 2E on the cost recovery policy, revised proposal for a differential rate policy for management cost rates. After an in-depth discussion, the budget group recommended that the current management cost rate of 0% continues to be applied to the fund. Let me now summarize the second part of Decision 14 in 4 main points that concern the budget-related parts from the original Decision 42-12A text. Each of these points address the respective item of the mandate of the ad hoc working group as it was formulated by the committee at its 41st session. First, the budget group fully agreed with the resource mobilization and communication strategy framework document developed by ad hoc group and with a proposed approach in this regard. The decision therefore suggests that a 2-year strategy plan be developed by the Secretariat with the support of the advisory bodies and state parties wishing to assist the Secretariat in fundraising activities. The Secretariat will be expected to present the progress report at the 43rd session of the committee. The group also supported the proposal of ad hoc group about flexible and informal support by state parties toward resource mobilization activities of the Secretariat rather than creating an informal core group. Taking into account that it's too early, complex, and costly to organize a large-scale fundraising event, such a form of partners or donors, before the resource mobilization strategy is fully in place, the group discussed that this matter could be considered at a later stage when the right conditions are in place. Finally, in accordance with its mandate, the ad hoc working group had examined and analyzed the iOS comparative mapping study recommendations, and relevant part of these recommendations were also, as I said earlier, were discussed by a budget group. On iOS recommendation number 1, it was agreed to keep the current practice of overhead costs in the contracts of the advisory bodies, as their elimination will not result in any significant savings. On iOS recommendation number 2, it was taken note of the summary of the legal opinion according to which the World Heritage Committee is not compelled by provisions of the Convention and the operational guidelines to use only the services of the 3 current advisory bodies. In this regard, the budget group agreed with the proposal of the ad hoc group, recommends to continue to use the services of the current 3 advisory bodies, while further discussing the modalities for use of the services of other entities with suitable experience and knowledge in line with UNESCO's rules and regulations, possibly through extended ad hoc working group. In this regard, a proposal for an amended mandate of the ad hoc group is included in the amendment to the decision 12A, submitted by Bahrain as a chair of the ad hoc group. It's proposed that the mandate of the ad hoc working group, in addition to the examination of different possibilities of reforming the nomination process and proposed recommendations in view of increasing the balance and credibility of the World Heritage List, according to the draft decision 42-12A, also includes discussion of modalities for possible use of advisory services of other entities in addition to current 3 advisory bodies. The budget group also endorsed the proposal of ad hoc working group on reactive monitoring mission and about international assistance we have just discussed in previous item. Further, the group discussed the model for sharing costs for evaluation of nominations presented by the delegation of Norway and included in Annex E of the document 12A by paying an upfront fixed fee based on the average cost of the evaluations. The proposal had met the approval of the majority of ad hoc group members. So the budget group discussed and agreed that further examination of this matter is needed, notably on modalities as well as legal basis or implications by the committee at its 43rd session in 2019 with a view to submit it for examination by the General Assembly at its 22nd session in 2019 as well. A draft paragraph was formulated and included in the draft decision in this regard. And finally, in order to prioritize conservation, the budget group recommends to encourage further increase of the proportion of the World Heritage Fund dedicated to conservation. I hope the distinguished members of the committee shall adopt this draft decision, which is a product of an immense collective endeavor. It aims to set us on a path towards greater sustainability of the World Heritage Fund, and therefore, hopefully in time, towards a better protection, conservation, management, and presentation of world cultural and natural heritage. In conclusion, allow me to personally thank the World Heritage Center for their constant support, IUCN, ICOMOS, and ICROM for their constructive engagement, and all distinguished delegates and colleagues who participated and attended meetings of the ad hoc working group and budget working group. Most of all, I would like to deeply thank Your Excellency Sheikh Yahya Al Khalifa for your noble and humble leadership and dedication, and Sheikh Khalifa Al Khalifa for the excellent cooperation in the framework of the ad hoc working group. Thanks so much, Madam Chairperson.
Mr. Baratli, thank you very much. Allow me, on behalf of the committee, to congratulate you and to thank you very much for your work, for your excellent work and excellent achievement. And I saw you personally working in a very serious and dedicated way. Thank you very much. Allow me now to close the session because we have come to the end of this morning session. We will complete and continue after at 3 o'clock, and we have only 2 hours as we have informed you. And I remind our bureau member that we will meet 2:30 as we agreed this morning to discuss the matter which we refer to this morning, 2:30 in our bureau meeting room. Thank you very much.